Good morning. It's Wednesday morning, and once more, me, Norma Cowie's back with my Norma Cowie Talks. Today, as always, on the beginning of the month, is that something that popped up. It can go away. Um, anyway, it's Wednesday morning, and we're doing our monthly reading or monthly look. I just want to say something first before I begin to decipher what is down in front of me. I decided to do a reading for myself first. And the first thing that came up, I burst out laughing because they all were cards relating to money. And I just looked in my wallet and realized I had $20 left in my wallet. You know, synchronicities like this, sometimes you just have to laugh at them. So I get ready to shuffle my cards and put the reading out. And the first one that comes up is the Ten of Pentacles. The other one, my little one, had 3 pentacle reading cards in it, not this one. But this is a talk. And remember, I must qualify. The question is basically the conditions surrounding North America, which is Canada and the US, for October 2025. This is the conversation that's beginning with money. Now, very often we forget some of the things that come out is behind it is what's the money? Who's looking for the money? Who's getting the money? And sometimes we forget that. But I looked at that and broke out laughing. And I usually feel the dates as to when the next symbol comes along. And this one seemed to go more. Usually it's about 1 to 3, this particular symbol, because we've got a month. So, but this one, I think goes to about the 5th of October, which is the beginning of next week. So it's like people communicating, but there's the money man, I think, is holding back. Now, from what some of the news things we have, it looks like the US is going to be doing all sorts of interesting things. So money's, and the actual thing, if I show you the symbol again, the money's in the air. The money isn't on the ground. Lots of conversation, but it's all out there. So we're all got lots of maybes, promises, and perhapses. But as we leave from the 5th to the 7th, we then run in. I'm going to put the proper hand up here. We then run into the 10 of Wands. Now, the 10 of Wands is a worry symbol. All these ideas. And then if you look and notice, I'm going to put that closer, how he's holding that. It's not a very good. He can't see where he's going. And he's worrying. What do we do here? What do we do? What do we make? And I just feel there's a little bit of panic. The feeling I get from this symbol is a little bit of panic. Like we've said this, and this, and now how do we organize it? How do we do it? How does it work? So in other words, we've gone from theory trying to form into practicality. And that's going to last probably, because we're at 5, 6, 7, maybe to the 8th. Then one of our, what we call court, here we go again, court cards. Court cards are attitudes, according to me. This is the Knight of Cups, probably the more solid and moving ahead. So whatever plans that has been made in that first week or so get now grounded, get modified, get figured out. And what I like about this particular symbol is the horse is slow and sure. So if there needs to be adjustments or whatever, that is going to get done. And that's going to take us up to the 10th or 11th of the month. But it doesn't always run smoothly, right? I know a lot about the symbol because it's dogged my life, I think. Queen of Wands. If you look at the symbolism, and I'm going to put this closer, the queen sits in her throne. Now, wands is ideas, is your mind. But if you notice in her right hand, which is more the action hand, she has a wand. But where is she looking? She's not looking at the wand. And at the bottom, there is this little black cat. That little black cat is kind of the part, subconscious part of us, maybe the part we don't want to look at, all those things. It's on the ground, but her wand is not grounded. It's on her throne, of which she's not looking like, oh, well, let's look over there. This is a tendency of getting distracted and not being, after saying this is me in lots of ways, and not being distracted. I had to learn how to deal with this in my life because I always had lots of ideas, but some of them just didn't work. And the thing is, we don't always look at what we don't want to look at. And thank goodness this symbol taught me a lot, but it is an attitude of not really taking the whole picture in. And so as we come into the teens and through the early part of the teens of the month, another attitude, look at all the attitudes. It's like an attitude is how we handle, we relate and react to. We now have the Knight of Wands. So look, there's been a lot of wands in here, which I'll separate them all up and when I'm finished this part. So what we've got here is a knight, and his horse is ready to go with his eye. But if you look very closely, again, put really close, the salamanders is a mount of fire, and the wands relate to the element of fire. And a lot of them don't have their tails in their mouths. Now, tails in the mouths mean that they've got their energy under control. It's really good there. A lot of these are not, which means the kind of, and the way the horse is rearing and ready to go, we don't know about preparation or where he's heading or what he's doing. So there's a lot of things in this first element that, a lot of plans, as this one to the right in the beginning said, up in the air, very little grounded, nothing, no, all speculation. We've got all these things, the money, the everything, what we're going to do, how we're going to do it. None of it's grounded. Then we come into the second part and we're coming into the 20s of the month. Judgment is higher up in the higher arcana, because we haven't had a higher arcana card yet. Number 20, there's only 22 cards in the higher arcana. So this is the acceptance. This is the acceptance of whatever. Now, one of the things that's gone on in this beginning part of the month is the sense that there's going to be saving some of the unrest that's in the world, we'll put it that way. And so here it's like being acknowledged, being like, here's somebody coming to save the day, which they have already appeared, but now are we accepting it? Before here, it's all over the place. But now it's kind of like we're accepting what is. We're accepting the possibility. We're accepting this may occur. It's still up in the air. The major thing is up in the air, and everyone's going, oh, look at this, it's wonderful. And this is a higher form of acceptance, which I find actually very, very interesting, most kinds of readings. It's kind of a quiet acceptance in self about the higher power as a personal. But this is looking at 2 countries. Now, when we're looking at the next symbol, when we're getting really middle 20s, we get this: disappointment, hurt, pain, disillusionment. So a lot of that, when we're looking up here going, yay, this is it, crashes down into the ground, maybe. But sometimes when things crash into the ground and we have disappointment, disillusionment, uncertainty, all of those, we get to the point where we come into letting go of the old and moving ahead in a very concrete, aware way. This is number 7 of the higher arcana. The end of the first lot of 7, and there's 22 cards in the higher arcana, and so there's 3 lots of 7 with the Fool being, and I always place the Fool at the end because it walks all the way through. The Fool is faith. So here is the symbol is turning away from what's been established and getting ready to move out. But there is no movement. That's always the interesting thing. It's like getting ready. That's why I stress the readiness. And in getting ready, he's balancing many things. He's got lots of things over him, but there's no movement. Now, as we come down to the end of the month in October, what do we get? We get another attitude card where we're defending. Sometimes I find this is where we justify to the world or people or whatever, which area we're doing in. But it's like now we're kind of fighting off expectations. We're fighting off maybes. And, yeah, we said that, but it can't be done. And so there's a lot of fighting off here. So let's take a look at these in relation to this suits. I'm a great believer in putting things in their suits. Now, wands, I'll do the hierarchical ones later. Wands are your ideas. So what we have here is lots of ideas. And then we have what we call the attitudes. Attitudes is how we think, feel, and respond the most often. We have the knight, which is actually, I like the knight because it's taking the ideas and going. The horse is ready to go. So there's movement. And then there's the queen, which, as I said earlier, dogged my life a lot because I get sidetracked. But if you look here in this attitude, the cat, which is the black cat, is your subconscious, represents your subconscious, your fears, your anxieties. And the wand, which is the idea, does not touch the ground. She does not look at the wand. She gets sidetracked. The key I gave to this particular symbol was getting sidetracked. In other words, you've got an idea, you've got a goal, and then something else comes along, and next it's like, oh, look at that. It's bright and shiny. That might be the key of it. The next one we look at is the cups. Cups are the value, whether you're happy or sad. And this is another attitude card, one of my favorites, because he's first of all, his horse is the only horse. All knights have horses, are on horses, I should say. He's walks slow and sure. So he knows exactly where he's going and what he's doing. And this is a good actual symbol to have in something that's going on in this month because it seems to be kind of erratic. Then we have the swords. Swords are problems. Hurt and pain. Don't like that one. And an attitude card where we're reacting. So this is when things begin to get a little squirrely, because they're not grounded. The whole thing is this, when we look at it, is it's not really grounded. We've got all these ideas being said about how we can solve this. And it all has to do with money because of this symbol here. This is the 10 of Pentacles. See the money all around in the front. People talking, and the old guy sitting out here with his dogs. He is just sort of, experienced. He knows what's going on. Communication is important, tremendously important in this card, but it's in the background almost. The two people who are communicating, they're not really lit up, but it's important. So this is what triggered that it was around money this month. And so keep an eye out on that. What's the money? What's going on behind the scenes? What's the money game? And then we have two hierarchana. Those are the higher power symbols. First of all, we've got number 7, the Chariot. Leaving behind the old and moving ahead. Balanced. It's quite balanced. It's aware, but it gives a hint of movement, but there is no movement. Sphinxes are just on the ground, black and white. City is behind. He's got a lovely square, which is grounding and awareness. He's got a spear. Well, if he's in a chariot, he's going to have something like that. The sky above him. Like a lot of great, but there is no movement. And I find this is very often what happens is that people, even in readings, they get all these ideas, but there's no movement to them. You need movement in order to adjust. Those who get on there, this is it, this is what we're doing, they often run into trouble because there's no flexibility. Now, the last symbol in this reading was, the last one I'm looking at, is judgment, the acceptance of what is. Sometimes certain things cannot be achieved or created. And we people who look and understand the higher power, different names, different countries worship different things, but it's all basically the same. The understanding that there is a power. I always call it the love force, because when I first started moving inside and looking at, I'd had a lot of church in my background when I was a kid. But when I ran into the energy, I realized how loving, how complete it was. So there is an acceptance here. People looking at that. So they're looking, in my mind, in this whole reading, people are looking for a savior, somebody to take care of everything, solve everything. Because I mean, it's a little bit like a house on fire in a way. But I want you to remember the very first card that came up. I'm going to find it. Just find it quickly again. I want you to remember this. The first card was money. Who's got the money? Who's going to make the money? I don't see, actually, a lot of things about the people. It's all about individuals. But this says sometimes what I find, it's like the, sorry for sounding, but it's like the hand of God comes in and shows things, and perhaps the people become aware of really what's going on. Sometimes there's always a little selection of people who have an idea, and sometimes it gets bigger and people begin to realize that people can speak out two sides of their mouths. This is going to be an interesting month. Not only are we heading into fall, I know I started a few weeks ago saying, fall's getting up here, and I live in the north part, so it hits us first. But this was early. Early September, I started getting cold, and I'm a bit of a cold person anyway, but it was like, whoa, that's early. I should be out there sitting out in my patio enjoying the warmth, and there's rain and anyway, lots of other things. But I'm just saying, be aware. Now I'm looking forward to seeing what November says, because November is going to give us answers. This month is not about answers. It's about a lot of people saying this and that and the other, but there's nothing in fact, if I look again, there's very little in here except this symbol. Maybe not really. Most of these symbols are not really, really grounded. Even the ones that look grounded, they're not. There's no movement. You're either moving and it's not grounded, or you're stuck. So I think it's going to be a fascinating month. I'm going to be watching certain things to see, what's happening, especially when it comes very often to the general public, just general people, because often what's going on in a bigger scale is reflected into you might say, the basic part of life. What's happening, what's going on, what's doing, and where we're going. So that's my reading for this wonderful month that has just begun today. But I look at this, and there's a couple of symbols, attitudes. This one I always like. I always like that one. I do not really, they're all falling on the table. I don't really like this one because it's reactive. And my favorite one, getting sidetracked. That's what it is. Little black cat says, oh, but what about over there? What about this? Maybe this will work. All those things. But that's why I said this is about money this month. This is because this one came up first. Anyway, I hope you have a great day. And I have one person that put in the comments, Mr. Mansmith, I haven't spoken to my siblings in a year. Where have they gone? I don't know, but you can always check in with us on Monday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific time, because I do a show then where I answer your questions like that, and do a mental mind treatment, which is an alternative prayer. So please, that's the right time. Things always have a right timing. And so, Mr. Mansmith, you're very welcome to join us on a Monday night. I have quite a following for Mondays, and I see 3 of you are watching. 2 of you put that you've enjoyed it, which I appreciate. And number 3, if you haven't done that, perhaps you would think about doing that for us, helping us along the way. So I've enjoyed this. I hope you have. And I will be back on Sunday morning for a short little talk. And again, of course, Monday with mental mind treatments. You have a great rest of the week and enjoy this transition from summer into fall. Blessings to you all. Bye now.